Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and in this one we're going to take a look at the best ways to hide a button in Minecraft. Now this is perfect for those of you who want hidden activation devices, super secret redstone contraptions, or even hidden piston doors that you don't want any other players being able to access. Now before we begin, I just want to mention if you do enjoy these sorts of videos, please be sure to hit that like button to show your appreciation, but let's crack on and I'll show you what I've got for you. This right here is design number 1. As you can see, it looks like your average everyday storage system. We've got a bunch of blocks and a bunch of chests, and up here we've got ourselves a redstone lamp to indicate whether or not we've pressed the button. Now I'm going to be honest, this one is a bit of a tricky one to press, but as you can see, the button is right there. It's very, very difficult to notice, but if we zoom in, you can see we've got a line of white, and then we have the slight grey area going across the middle, and then we have the line of white once again. And all we have to do is click right on that button, and it does take a little bit of practice, but if we give it a press just about here, I would say, we should get an output through our redstone lamp, which means that we can hook that up into anything that we really want to. So to build this thing, it's incredibly simple. All we have to do is place 3 chests on top of one another by shift clicking, then you want to place 2 blocks up the back and your button right there. Then you can surround the entire area with blocks, just make sure that you cover in the entire space, and then you want to make sure that you don't leave any sky blocks or anything else out the back there, so it looks completely uniform from the front, but you know that there is a button right there that gives you access to whatever you really fancy. As you guys may or may not know, I'm a big fan of fire lighting. I love the way that fire lights up a room. I think it's an awesome alternative to using glowstone or sea lanterns or anything like that. But the other good news is, fire is pretty good at hiding things. I mean, as you can see, you can't see through the fire. But we can right click through the fire, which means that if we just pop on over to this fire over here and right click somewhere around here, we press our button and that activates the redstone lamp, which as we all know means that we can run that into a piston door or some form of secret redstone device. Awesome. As I just mentioned, I really like using fire for decoration, but some people go pretty crazy with their decoration. I know it's all subjective, and I know I'm not particularly brilliant at it, but for those of you who want to go really fancy, you can use item frames, blocks inside the item frames, and then buttons behind the item frames to create a fairly cool effect. I mean, I personally quite like this one with the iron block out the front. That one is like a stone mend up right there, and then we've got some wood going on, but this is my personal favorite. We've got the button, and then we have this sort of diamond going around it. It looks really very fancy, and the best thing is that we can hook this button up to anything that you really want to, and if you have them all over your build, the player isn't going to suspect anything. They're just going to think that you're using them for decoration. If you live in a ravine or a cave or even the nether, this option right here is probably a very good option for you. As you guys know, there's lava streams all over the place, and they flow from various different areas and those sorts of spaces, and the cool thing is that, well, lava is completely opaque. You cannot see through it, you're not able to see anything past it, which means that we can place a button behind this thing, but of course we can still click on it, which means that we can still activate redstone contraptions. Just wear some gloves while you're doing it, because, well, that's gotta hurt. For those of you who don't know, when you till dirt, it actually gets a tiny bit smaller. If we just click on this block right here, you can see it shrinks by 1/16 of a block. Now the cool thing about this is the fact that the hitbox actually gets smaller. You can see that when we look at this one, the hitbox is just a tiny bit smaller than that one, which means that if we look through this gap, we can actually click on through onto the block behind it. Now this is perfect for those of you who want to hide buttons, because if we make our way across the line like this, you can see that we actually have a button in this corner right here. Now that is going to be incredibly difficult for anyone to spot. They would really have to be looking to be able to find this one, and if we give it a press, you can see it lights up our redstone lamp, which, as we've discussed many times now, means that we can hook it up to some form of piston door or other hidden activation device. Now if you want to go crazy, completely and utterly insane with this one, what you want to do is place a line of tilled soil, then a line of blocks, and then a line of snow layers like this. Now if you stand on this and look through here and just listen out, as you can tell, I just pressed the button. Now believe it or not, what we've managed to do is we've managed to create the perfect height, allowing us to click between the dirt and between the wheat hitbox, which is pretty ridiculous, and no one is going to be able to find your button in that situation, and all you have to do is place 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of snow like that, and that will create the perfect height to allow you to do it. But just to warn you, it is a tiny bit overkill. I mean, come on now, that's ridiculous. Speaking of doing ridiculous things with snow, say for example you're creating a crazy mountain peak, or you want to create an awesome glacial area or some form of snowy hillside, and you're placing in all your layers of snow, and of course it's pretty good fun. You can do all sorts of different things with snow, and all you want to do is leave a tiny gap like this, just one block with a tiny little gap right there, and what that means is you can peep through that gap and press a button, which of course gives you access to a redstone contraption. I would say the secret to this one is not making it too obvious. So the block that you're going to stand on is going to be 2 layers of snow. Then you want to place a couple blocks going across like this, maybe with various layers of snow like that. And then this one right here is going to be the important one because you want to place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers of snow just like that. Then a block on top right there. Then you want to place a block here with a button on the underside, and that means that when you stand on that block right there, the one that I just flew past, that one right there, you can actually gain access to the button and give it a press. 2 things. Number 1, this is for those of you who are a little bit lazy and you don't fancy placing a bunch of blocks. Number 2, this is my artist's impression of a cliffside wall. Yes, I'm well aware of the fact that it's awful. It's pretty terrible. It doesn't look anything like a cliffside wall, but you don't need to let me know that down in the comments section. Now, the simple idea behind this one is really quite obvious. All you do is you place down the button and that's it. You place the button, the stone button, on a stone wall and just hope that nobody notices it's there. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but if we take a step back here, it's very difficult to know that there's a button now. I mean, really, if you were looking at that, would you tell me there's a button? Probably not. You probably haven't noticed it. It's actually quite difficult to spot. The only thing is that of course if a player does spot the button, then they have just gained access to your redstone contraption, whatever that may be hiding. So maybe that's something to keep in mind. I know what you're thinking. Mumbo, what on earth is that thing right there? You know what? I would have asked the same thing. It just looks like a large item frame to me, but apparently that's what a map of a void world looks like. This is something that I didn't realise, but it actually looks quite cool. I sort of want them dotted around my base. But the best news is that the hitbox of an item frame comes to about here. However, the map fills the entire block, which means that if we just look through this corner, we can actually press the button, which will activate the redstone. Now, if you're wondering, our item frame is placed on the side of a sign, which obviously doesn't have a hitbox at all, which means that we can just reach on through and grab this little fella right here. It's perfect. This next one's in a fairly similar vein to the map's idea, but the painting is just one of those blocks in Minecraft that everyone knows you can walk through. There has been countless secret entrances and loads of different videos made on it, so I thought I'd quickly cover it. But you place a painting, then your 2 fence gates, and then you've got yourself a button. There we go, bada bing bada boom, you've got yourself a hidden activation device. For this one, I thought I'd get a tiny bit creative. Let me know down in the comment section if it's completely ridiculous. But here we have a rather nice looking table. We've got a bunch of carpets surrounding it, and we've got a bunch of blocks around the bottom. And then if we take a look here, we've got a gap with a button down there. Now it is noticeable. You would be able to notice that, but you would have to be looking out for it. I mean, if a player's just walking past, they're not exactly going to be spotting that sort of thing. And the way that you do it is actually really very simple. All you have to do is place a little redstone block down the bottom there, regular piston facing upwards, then you need blocks going all the way around like this, block down at the bottom, your button, and then all of the carpets covering all of the various different bits and pieces. I don't know if this one's good or not. I just quite like the idea. The enchanting table is another one of those blocks in Minecraft that has quite a small hitbox. We've got quite a big gap between these 2 blocks right here, but the good news is that it also has a book on top, which means that it completely obstructs the view of the button that is behind it. But as you can tell, we can still give it a press. Now this is a very simple design. All you have to do is place an enchanting table, surround it by blocks, then leave a block gap, and then place your button out the back. Before you write it down in the comment section, yes, I am well aware of the fact that you can see a button right now. It's right there. You give it a press, it extends the piston, it's perfect. Except it doesn't actually run into any form of redstone contraption. This button right here is actually allowing you to gain access to another button, which it probably sounds ridiculous, but you hit this button right here and then you keep right clicking and the piston will turn invisible very, very briefly while it retracts, allowing you to click through it to press the actual button which activates the redstone contraption that you want to activate. Now that sounds very complicated, but as you can see, it's extremely simple. We've got a button, then we've got our piston. It's just a regular piston, which faces towards this button right here, which is 2 blocks away from that piston to stop the piston arm from breaking the button. Really nice and simple. I personally think of the banner as a relatively recent addition to Minecraft, but I just looked it up, and it's actually a couple years old now, which is making me feel very old indeed. But it's extremely cool. It allows you to create artworks, create signs for shops, or just generally decorate areas. And the best news is, it's also very good at hiding buttons. Behind this banner right here, we've got ourselves a button, we give it a press, and we get ourselves a redstone output as per usual. Now the cool thing is that it's very difficult to be able to see this button. The only angle that is really visible is this one right here, and even then, you only see it very temporarily. Now here's the thing, what sort of player is actually going to be standing in this sort of location? Not many of them, so I'd say your items are safe. One thing that I used to really enjoy doing is catching large quantities of mobs and keeping them in a storage system. Now I have to say, this looked awesome, but it can also be effective at hiding away redstone contraptions because you can place buttons behind them to keep them hidden away. Now I have to say, this guy right here is not doing the best job at hiding our buttons. I mean, these things are pretty plainly obvious, but generally speaking, they stand in the middle of the block as opposed to the right-hand side and do a good job. For those of you who don't know, I really quite like armor stands. One of my favorite videos I've ever made is the armor stand jump scare device, which if you haven't seen that before, I would highly suggest checking it out. But also, the armor stand wave machine is another absolute killer video, and I'll put both of those down in the description. But the cool thing is that I've just found another use for them, and that is the hideaway buttons. All you have to do is go behind this guy and just sort of look between his helmet and his arm, and we give that thing a press. Now the only thing that I will say is that if you're using that button to activate a redstone door to hide away all of your items, don't use diamond armor on all of the armor stands because, well, the player's just going to come along and steal all of that armor. It's probably not the best idea. So we have it, ladies and gents. That rounds up today's video on the best ways to hide away buttons. If you have any other suggestions, let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to hear all of them, and if I get plenty of good ones, then I might consider doing another video on it. But unfortunately, that's all I've got time for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.